The rain hammered against the cracked pavement as Marcus Chen stood in line at the community soup kitchen, his worn-out jacket doing little to shield him from the cold November wind. His hands, calloused from years of manual labor he'd been pretending to do, trembled slightly as he clutched a chipped ceramic bowl. But these weren't the hands of a struggling man. These were the hands of a billionaire who had grown tired of the endless parade of women who saw only his bank account, his penthouse, his fleet of luxury cars. Tonight, like every night for the past 3 months, Marcus was invisible, just another face in the crowd of forgotten souls. And that was exactly how he wanted it. He had built an empire from nothing, turning a small tech startup into a multinational corporation worth billions. But success had come with a price. Every relationship felt transactional. Every smile seemed calculated. Every touch felt like it came with an invoice attached. So Marcus had made a decision that his board of directors would have called insane. He walked away from his life of luxury, adopted the identity of a struggling day laborer, and moved into a cramped studio apartment in the poorest neighborhood of the city. He was searching for something money couldn't buy: genuine human connection. And perhaps, if he was lucky, a woman who could love him for who he was, not what he had. If you believe in authenticity, in finding real love beyond material things, in second chances and the power of honesty, please hit the like button. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel. Also, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from you all around the world. Now let's continue with Marcus's incredible journey. The soup kitchen was run by a small nonprofit that barely kept its doors open. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting shadows across the faces of people who had fallen through society's cracks. Marcus had been coming here for weeks, slowly becoming part of the invisible tapestry of the struggling community. He'd learned their stories, shared their burdens, and for the first time in years felt like he belonged somewhere real. That's when he first saw her. Sofia Rodriguez wasn't serving food behind the counter like the other volunteers. She was sitting at one of the long tables, her own tray of simple food in front of her, talking animatedly with an elderly man who seemed to be crying. Her hand rested gently on his shoulder, and even from across the room, Marcus could see the genuine compassion in her eyes. She wore a faded green jacket that had seen better days, her dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, and there was a warmth about her that seemed to light up the dim room. Over the following weeks, Marcus found himself drawn to Sofia like a moth to flame. He learned that she worked 3 jobs: a morning shift at a bakery, afternoons cleaning office buildings, and evenings she spent here, volunteering what little free time she had to help others. She lived alone in a small apartment not far from where Marcus was staying, sending most of her earnings back to her mother in another state who was battling cancer. What struck Marcus most wasn't her beauty, though she was beautiful in a natural, unadorned way that took his breath away. It was her spirit. Despite having so little, Sofia gave everything. She shared her lunch with those who had less. She stayed late to help clean up. She remembered everyone's names and asked about their lives with genuine interest. She was the kind of person Marcus had convinced himself didn't exist anymore. One rainy evening, Marcus gathered the courage to sit next to her. His heart pounded in a way it hadn't since he was a teenager, nervous and uncertain. Sofia looked up from the book she was reading, a worn paperback from the local library, and smiled at him with such warmth that Marcus almost forgot his carefully constructed persona. "Hi," she said simply. "I've seen you around. I'm Sofia." "Marcus," he replied, his voice rougher than usual. He'd been practicing his working-class accent for months. "Nice to meet you." They talked that night for hours. Marcus told her his fabricated story, how he'd lost his job at a factory, how he was struggling to find work, how he was barely making ends meet doing odd jobs. He felt guilty about the lies, but he needed to know if what he was feeling was real. Sofia listened with such empathy that Marcus felt his chest tighten with emotion he'd suppressed for years. In turn, Sofia shared her own story. Her father had passed away when she was young, leaving her mother to raise her alone. They'd always struggled financially, but her mother had taught her that wealth wasn't measured in dollars. It was measured in the kindness you showed others, the integrity you maintained, and the love you gave freely. Now, with her mother sick, Sofia worked herself to exhaustion to pay for treatments that insurance wouldn't cover. "I'm sorry," Marcus said, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. "That must be incredibly hard." Sofia shrugged, but her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "We do what we have to do for the people we love. That's what family means." That's what being human means. From that night on, Marcus and Sofia became inseparable. They would meet at the soup kitchen, then walk through the rain-soaked streets, talking about everything and nothing. Sofia showed Marcus her city, not the gleaming towers and expensive restaurants he knew from his other life, but the real city. The corner store where the owner gave away day-old bread to anyone who needed it. The community garden where neighbors grew vegetables together. The small park where children played despite the broken swings. Marcus fell in love, not the superficial infatuation he'd experienced with women who wore designer clothes and expected five-star restaurants. This was deeper, rawer, more real than anything he'd ever felt. Sophia made him laugh with her terrible jokes. She challenged his views on the world. She showed him beauty in the smallest things, a flower growing through a crack in the concrete, the way sunlight filtered through clouds after a storm, the sound of children's laughter echoing down an alley. But what amazed Marcus most was Sophia's generosity. Despite having almost nothing, she gave constantly. When Marcus mentioned he was hungry one day, having forgotten to eat to maintain his cover, Sophia immediately offered him half her sandwich, which he knew was probably all she had for lunch. When an older woman at the shelter needed bus fare to get to a doctor's appointment, Sophia emptied her pockets without hesitation. When Marcus's landlord supposedly raised his rent and he mentioned he might be evicted, Sophia offered to help him find resources, even suggested he could sleep on her couch if he needed to. The guilt ate at Marcus. Every day, the lies grew heavier. He wanted to tell Sophia the truth, but he was terrified. What if she felt betrayed? What if she thought he'd been mocking her poverty? What if she assumed he saw her as a charity case? The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd started this experiment to find someone genuine, and now he was trapped in his own deception. One evening, about 4 months into their friendship, something happened that changed everything. Marcus and Sophia were walking home from the soup kitchen when they encountered a young mother with 2 small children sitting on the sidewalk with a cardboard sign. The woman looked desperate, her children shivering in the cold. Sophia stopped immediately. She crouched down and talked to the woman, learning that she'd fled an abusive relationship and had nowhere to go. Without hesitation, Sophia pulled out her wallet. Marcus watched as she counted her money. 40. He knew that was meant to last her the rest of the week. He knew she had bills due. He knew she needed that money. Sophia handed the woman $40. There's a shelter 2 blocks that way, Sophia said gently, giving directions. It's clean and safe. Tell them Sophia sent you. They'll take care of you and your babies. The woman cried and thanked her profusely. After she left, Sophia stood there in the rain, and Marcus saw her shoulders shake slightly. He realized she was crying. Sophia, he said softly, touching her arm. I'm okay, she said, wiping her eyes. I remember being that scared when my mom first got sick, not knowing how we'd manage. It's terrifying. I couldn't not help. Marcus felt something break inside him. This woman, who had every reason to be bitter about her circumstances, who worked herself to the bone just to survive, had just given away nearly all the money she had to help a stranger. She didn't think twice. She didn't weigh the cost. She just acted from the pure goodness of her heart. That night, Marcus made a decision. He had to tell her the truth. She deserved honesty. Their relationship, whatever it was becoming, couldn't be built on lies. But before he could arrange the conversation, disaster struck. Sophia's mother took a turn for the worse. The hospital called saying she needed an immediate surgery that would cost over $50,000. Without it, she had weeks to live. With it, she had a fighting chance. Marcus found Sophia at the soup kitchen the next evening, her eyes red from crying. She looked devastated, defeated in a way he'd never seen. She's going to die, Sophia whispered. I've been working so hard, saving every penny, but I only have $8,000. The hospital won't do the surgery without a significant down payment. I've tried everything: loans, payment plans, fundraising. Nothing works fast enough. My mom doesn't have time. Marcus felt his heart shatter. Here was his moment. He could write a check right now, solve this problem instantly. But what would Sophia think? Would she believe he'd been playing with her emotions? Would she feel humiliated? Would she hate him for the deception? There has to be something, Marcus said, his mind racing. There isn't, Sophia said quietly. I've exhausted every option. I even considered asking some of the wealthy people whose office I clean if they might help, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. My mother taught me to have pride in who I am, to never beg. But now I wonder if pride is just foolishness when someone you love is dying. Marcus made his decision. Sophia, I need to tell you something. Can we go somewhere private? They walked to a small park nearby, sitting on a bench under a streetlight. The rain had stopped, and stars were beginning to peek through the clouds. Marcus took a deep breath, his hands shaking. I haven't been honest with you, he began. My name is Marcus Chen, but I'm not who you think I am. I'm not a day laborer struggling to find work. I'm the CEO of Chen Technologies. I'm a billionaire. Sophia stared at him, her face unreadable. What? The words poured out of Marcus like a dam breaking. He told her everything about the women who only wanted his money, about his desperate search for authenticity, about the experiment that had brought him to the soup kitchen. He told her about falling in love with her kindness, her spirit, her incredible heart. He told her about the guilt that had consumed him, and how he'd been planning to tell her the truth before this crisis happened. "I can help your mother," Marcus said urgently. "I can pay for the surgery right now. I can get her the best doctors, the best care. Please, let me do this." Sophia stood up abruptly, her face a mixture of emotions Marcus couldn't read. She walked a few steps away, her back to him. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. When she finally turned around, tears were streaming down her face. "You lied to me," she said, her voice breaking. "For months. You watched me struggle, watched me worry, watched me give away money I desperately needed, all while you could have helped at any moment. Did you think this was a game? Did you think poor people were interesting research subjects?" "No." Marcus stood, his own eyes wet with tears. "Sophia, please. I know I was wrong. I know I hurt you. But what I feel for you is real. You're the most incredible person I've ever met. Your compassion, your generosity, your strength, it's beyond anything I could have imagined. I wasn't studying you. I was learning from you. You showed me what it means to be truly human. And you thought deceiving me was the answer." Sophia's voice was sharp with pain. "You could have just been honest. You could have told me from the beginning that you were wealthy and wanted to connect with real people. Did you think so little of me that you assumed I'd only want your money?" "I was afraid," Marcus admitted. "Every relationship I'd had before was poisoned by money. I just wanted someone to see me, not my bank account. But you're right. I should have trusted you. I'm sorry, Sophia. I'm so sorry. If this story is touching your heart, if you're feeling the weight of this moment, please take a second to let us know by liking this video and leaving a comment. Your engagement helps us share more stories like this." Sophia wiped her tears. "My mother is dying, Marcus, and you're standing here offering help. But I don't even know who you are anymore. The man I fell in love with, yes, I fell in love with you, was kind and humble and genuine. Or at least I thought he was. Now I don't know what was real and what was performance." "It was all real," Marcus said desperately. "The conversations, the walks, the connection, that was all real. The only thing that wasn't real was my circumstances. My feelings for you, my admiration for who you are, my love, that's the most real thing I've ever experienced." Sophia closed her eyes, fresh tears falling. "I need time to think. About us, about your offer, about everything. This is too much." "Your mother doesn't have time," Marcus said gently. "Please, let me help her. Whatever happens between us, your mother deserves a chance. Let me do this one thing. If you never want to see me again after, I'll respect that. But please, don't let your mother suffer because you're angry with me." Sophia looked at him for a long moment. Marcus could see the war raging inside her: pride versus desperation, hurt versus hope, anger versus love. "Okay," she finally whispered. "Help my mother." "But we're not okay, Marcus. I don't know if we ever will be." Marcus immediately made calls. Within hours, Sophia's mother was transferred to the best cardiac unit in the state. The finest surgeons were assembled. Money, which had been the insurmountable obstacle, became irrelevant. The surgery was scheduled for the next morning. Marcus stayed in the background, respecting Sophia's need for space. He received updates from the hospital staff he'd specifically hired to keep him informed. The surgery was successful. Sophia's mother was going to live. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks during which Marcus returned to his real life, but found it hollow and meaningless. His penthouse felt like a prison. His expensive car sat unused in the garage. Business meetings that once excited him now felt trivial. He tasted real life, real connection, real love, and nothing else compared. Then one evening his doorman called up. "Mr. Chen, there's a Miss Sophia Rodriguez here to see you." Marcus's heart leaped into his throat. "Send her up." When Sophia stepped out of the elevator into his penthouse, she looked around at the floor-to-ceiling. Windows showcasing the city, the modern art on the walls, the luxury that defined his world. She looked so out of place and yet so right standing there. "My mother is recovering well," Sophia said quietly. "She's going to make a full recovery, thanks to you. I came to thank you for that." "You don't need to thank me," Marcus said. "How are you?" "Confused, hurt, angry, grateful. In love," Sophia said, her honesty cutting through him. "I've been doing a lot of thinking about what you did, why you did it, and what it means." Marcus waited, barely breathing. "You were wrong to lie to me," Sophia continued. "You should have trusted me with the truth from the beginning. But I understand why you did it. I've seen how people change when they think you have money. Even at the soup kitchen, there were volunteers who treated wealthy donors differently than they treated the people we were serving. I don't agree with your method, but I understand your reasoning. I'm sorry, Marcus said again. I would take it back if I could. Here's what I know, Sophia said, stepping closer. The man who sat with me at that soup kitchen, who walked with me in the rain, who listened to my stories and shared his fears, that man was real. Maybe the circumstances were false, but the person you were with me, that was genuine. I felt it. And I've realized something else. You didn't just test me. You tested yourself. You stripped away everything you'd built, everything you'd achieved, and you discovered that underneath all of it, you're a good man with a good heart. Marcus felt hope flicker in his chest. Does this mean you can forgive me? I already have, Sophia said softly. Because the thing is, Marcus, in your own misguided way, you showed me the greatest respect anyone ever has. You didn't assume I could be bought. You wanted to earn my love with nothing but yourself. That means something. I do love you, Marcus said, more than I knew it was possible to love someone. I love you too, Sophia replied. But if we're going to do this, we do it with complete honesty from now on. No more lies, no more tests. Just two people trying to build something real together. I promise, Marcus said, and he meant it with every fiber of his being. Sophia smiled then, really smiled, and it was like the sun coming out after months of rain. Good. Because I have some conditions. I'm not moving into this penthouse. I like my apartment. I'm not quitting my jobs. I like helping people, and I don't want to lose that part of myself. And I expect you to volunteer at the soup kitchen with me at least twice a week. The real world, Marcus, you need to stay connected to it. Marcus laughed, relief and joy flooding through him. Deal. All of it. Anything you want. And one more thing, Sophia said, her expression serious. The money you have, it's a tool. We're going to use it to help people. Really help people. We're going to expand that soup kitchen, fund medical treatments for families like mine. Create programs that give people real chances. Your wealth is going to mean something beyond luxury and comfort. Okay? More than okay, Marcus said. That's exactly what I want. They stood there in his penthouse, two people from completely different worlds, brought together by an unconventional journey. Marcus reached out and took Sophia's hand, feeling the same electric connection he'd felt that first night at the soup kitchen. Thank you, he whispered, for seeing me, for forgiving me, for loving me. Thank you for finding me, Sophia replied, for being brave enough to search for something real, even if you went about it in the most complicated way possible. They both laughed then, and it felt like a new beginning. Before we finish, if this story moved you, if it reminded you that real love exists beyond material things, if it gave you hope or made you believe in second chances, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And comment below telling us what you thought about Marcus's journey. We read every single comment, and your thoughts mean the world to us. 6 months later, Marcus and Sophia stood together at the grand opening of the new Rodriguez-Chan Community Center, a state-of-the-art facility offering free medical care, job training, child care, and hot meals to anyone who needed them. Sophia's mother, fully recovered, cut the ribbon alongside them, tears of joy streaming down her face. Marcus looked at Sophia, who was radiant in her simple dress, her eyes shining as she watched people pour into the building. She caught his gaze and squeezed his hand. He'd been searching for a loyal wife, for someone who could love him without the complications of wealth. What he'd found instead was so much more a partner who challenged him, a woman who taught him the true meaning of generosity, a love that transformed into a better person. The irony was perfect. Marcus had pretended to be poor to find authenticity, only to discover that real wealth had nothing to do with bank accounts. It was measured in compassion given freely, in love offered without conditions, in the courage to be vulnerable and honest. As they walked into their new community center together, ready to serve the people who needed them most, Marcus realized he was richer than he'd ever been. Not because of his billions, but because he'd found Sophia, a woman whose honest heart had shocked him awake and shown him what truly mattered in life. And that, he knew, was worth more than all the money in the world.